The United States Postal Service is now thinking about closing post offices around the country ahead of a presidential election in which we are anticipating more people than ever will vote by mail because of this thing called the global coronavirus pandemic, which has been acutely mishandled by Donald Trump. Now, we're going to be talking today about a lot of angles on vote by mail, including how to vote by mail. But this is, I think, where it makes sense to start. We knew when it looked like vote by mail was going to be a big deal this November, that the post office was going to be a target. And part of the reason why is Republicans love going after the post office, even when there's not a pandemic and when people are not particularly planning to vote by mail. Trump loves talking about how the post office is inefficient. Republicans love talking about privatization. UPS, FedEx, they're better than the post office. The post office is kind of a perfect target for people like Donald Trump and many Republicans, because you can talk about privatizing while shrinking government, while attacking government inefficiency and saying stuff like, if the post office can't even get it right, how could we possibly have the government handle health care? That's often the way they like to talk about it. And then while we were already suspicious about Trump's plans for the post office, Trump goes and appoints a huge donor from his campaign, a donor to his campaign, rather, Louis DeJoy, as Postmaster General, who immediately starts talking about reevaluating the post office, talking about a fresh look at the post office, limiting overtime hours for postal workers. And then we get a clearer picture of what the plan is. We've now heard from Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia that he has been receiving letters that there are plans for closures of post offices in the state of West Virginia, which may just be the very beginning of this strategy. When Manchin sent a letter to Trump's new postmaster general to essentially say, what on earth is going on here? He got some vague response similar to what we already talked about. You know, we need to take a fresh look at how the post office should be run. Now, I actually found a document from the Congressional Research Service called Common Questions About Post Office Closures. And it explains how and under what circumstances post office branches can be closed. And when you look at this document on page 9, it says, what is that process? And the federal law around closing post offices includes that there must be adequate notice of the intention to close or consolidate branches at least 60 days prior to the proposed date of the closure. And if a decision is made to close a post office, everybody served by that post office must be notified. And the post office has to wait at least 60 more days before proceeding with the closure. Anybody who is served by a post office that may be closing has the right to appeal the closure, and there will be up to 120 days to consider the appeal. So if you just look at the calendar, it's already too late to close post offices before the election by the normal process. How can you get around this? I'm guessing you understand the way this is going to go. Emergencies. There is something called an emergency suspension process, but the situations where you can use such a process to close a post office branch is very, very limited. These are limited situations. For example, if the post office is in a building that you rent from, a landlord, a private landlord, and the landlord closes the building, as an example, you would be able to close the post office. The post office would have no choice in that case but to close sooner than the normal timeline. But right now, we certainly don't meet that standard. And if kids are going back to school, you can't really argue that it's safe for kids to be in school, but post offices have to close. So here's the plan that they're cooking up. Cut overtime. If carriers can't finish their daily deliveries without taking overtime, they have to bring the undelivered mail back to the post office. The next day, they've got to take out the new mail plus the leftover stuff from day one. Can't finish it by 5 p.m.? Bring it all back to the post office. Day 3, you now have to deliver that day's mail plus the leftovers from day 1 and the leftovers from day 2. I think you understand. That's part of the plan. And meanwhile, look at whether they might be able to shut down some branches as Donald Trump continues to publicly assail the ability of the post office to deliver absentee ballots. Now, that's the plan. It doesn't match up with reality. And the Postal Service has actually said, not Trump's postmaster, but others in the Postal Service have said, we've got this. We can handle the ballots. That's really not a big deal for us. Donald Trump, however, is going to continue casting doubt about that. And that's what we're going to talk about next. If you've been watching the show, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love my Helix mattress. Well, I was really excited to hear that Helix has launched a new company called Allform, which makes premium, customizable sofas and chairs with the same level of quality and comfort that I expect from these guys. And Allform is one of our sponsors today. They're giving you 20% off at allform.com/Pakman. They actually sent me a couch, which I put in my living room at home. It's now my favorite piece of furniture in the house. It took me just minutes to set it up. It's solidly built. It's huge. It's roomy. It has a modern, minimalist design, which I love, but it's also very comfortable. Fabric is soft, clearly very high quality. It has become the focal point of my living room. Their prices are very reasonable, and when you get a new sofa or chair, you get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. And the best part is everything comes with a lifetime warranty. Stop buying poorly made furniture. Go to customize your own Allform sofa or chair right now and get 20% off your entire order when you get there by going to allform.com/Pakman. I've also put the link right underneath this video.